opening day swing count, 4-0-2 to right. O's take a 1-0 lead just like that. Kyle Gibson getting the start for the O's. He gave up a run in the first, retires the side in the second. Gibson, 5 innings pitched, 4 earned on 6 hits. He struck out 3. Let's go to the top of the fourth now. Ramon Urias, he's going to add to the O's lead. Climbs the green monster with a big swing here to make it a 3-1 ball game. Red Sox would score 3 in the 8th, 2 in the 9th. Nothing like some late inning opening day drama, but it's the O's holding on for the 10-9 win. Adley Rutschman becomes the first catcher in MLB history with 5 hits on opening day. Unbelievable. For Grayson Rodriguez, the journey to the bigs begins on Friday. The O's top pitching prospect will start AAA Norfolk's opener per David Hall of the Virginian Pilot. First pitch between the Tides and the Durham Bulls. That's slated for 6:35 p.m. Diamond Miller left her mark in College Park, and now she'll take her next step in the journey to the pros. According to a WNBA release, the 6'3" guard has declared for the WNBA draft. Miller is a projected top 5 pick, going as high as 2nd overall in some mock drafts. Coming up tonight, what Brandon Hyde and the O's are saying following that opening day win. Plus, one of Maryland's top assistants is on the move on the late edition of Sports Unlimited.
And take a look at our weekend forecast in detail. By Friday afternoon, some showers moving in, on and off rain. Friday night into Saturday, winds pick up, could gust to 45, 50 miles an hour Saturday afternoon as we clear, but highs in the 70s. Sunday, sunshine and temperatures going to be dropping off into the 50s. Any boating this weekend planned? Saturday, there's a gale watch. I would not be out there. Temperatures in the 60s. Winds and waves are high. And then Sunday, still breezy with sun with a high 56.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Breaking news ahead at 6 o'clock. Former President Trump reportedly criminally indicted. The bombshell announcement from one of his lawyers as details are just coming in. And the status of a state bill targeting legal gun owners in the wake of the Supreme Court ruling, making wear and carry permits easier to get. How it would limit just where permit holders can take their firearms.
Breaking developments in the New York criminal investigation into former President Donald Trump. His lawyer with a bombshell announcement not long ago.
I think the real test is going to be when the summer comes.
So far, no squeegee zones seem to be working. New information on the ban and how it's being enforced right now. And an update to a developing situation at Joint Base Andrews, home of Air Force One. New information on the lockdown and action being taken as we come on the air.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, This is Fox 45 News at 6.
And we're following that breaking news as we come on the air right now at 6. A lawyer for former President Donald Trump says he has been told Trump has been indicted in New York. A bombshell announcement shared results of the grand jury vote with the Associated Press. It makes Trump the first former president to be criminally charged. Those charges involve payments made during the 2016 presidential campaign in exchange for silence about claims of an extramarital affair. The anticipation had been building since former President Trump posted to social media over a week ago that he was expecting the indictment sometime last week. Now, former President Trump denies wrongdoing and is currently running a campaign for the 2024 presidential election. We'll have much more from Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman tonight at 10. And more breaking news, a lockdown at Joint Base Andrews has been lifted minutes ago. The initial call to tighten security came after a man was reportedly spotted with a firearm near the housing area at about 2:30 this afternoon. After a sweep of the entire base, we are told no armed person was identified. At one point, video showed police questioning a person in a nearby park, but they were not taken into custody. That base is home to the presidential fleet of aircraft and D.C. Air National Guard. There were no reports of actual gunfire nor injuries, and this was never an active shooter situation. Again, that lockdown at Joint Base Andrews is lifted at this hour.
Baltimore's chapter of the NAACP says their city office on 26th Street was vandalized. You can see broken glass and boarded up windows still left over. Reverend Kobe Little chairs the chapter, and he says he was sitting at his desk when a piece of concrete and bottle were thrown toward the building, breaking the front door. Reverend Little says he feels the attack was targeted, and he has a message for the suspects.
Now, if this attack was designed to cause us to be fearful, we tell the attackers we're encouraged. We're encouraged by our faith in our Creator. We're encouraged by the witness of our ancestors and those civil rights activists who endured far worse.
The NAACP shared this surveillance video on Twitter. You can see 4 people walking around the street outside the office. Then, in the bottom right corner, one person appears to have thrown an object toward the building before they all run away. According to a release, Baltimore police have since filed a report. Mary?
Kai, thank you. First on Fox 45 News at 6, Baltimore's plan to ban squeegeeing in several busy intersections across the city has been in effect for nearly 3 months. And while many of those intersections remain squeegee-free, we found that's not always the case. Some drivers are still reporting problems with squeegee workers citywide. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker takes a closer look at what's happening and has the story.
We weren't able to find any squeegee workers here along President Street, one of the 6 squeegee enforcement zones across the city. And here along Russell Street, where you are still allowed to squeegee, we were able to find one squeegee worker who tells us there are still plenty of kids squeegeeing at different intersections throughout the city.
I'm really the one of the original ones.
It's been nearly a decade.
I've been squeegeeing for like 8 to 9 years.
Since CJ started squeegeeing.
At first, I thought this was like legal. Good. Have a good one.
You can almost always find him here, next to M&T Bank Stadium.
Good today, sir. Hamburg and Russell, this is the only intersection.
There wasn't a ton of business Thursday.
We barely wash windows.
But the money was flowing.
Me? You gotta stay down so you come up. Have a good one. We get money because, like, how nice we is, how respectful we is. Good today, ma'am.
And that's what he says it comes down to. Respect.
All right, you have a good day. Have a blessing.
But that's been hard to come by for some.
The squeegee gentleman said they attempted to wash cars in traffic and he damaged his vehicle.
That's a call to Baltimore police Tuesday. That same day, police tell us there were 6 calls for service alone in reference to squeegee-related incidents. Squeegee enforcement zones went into effect on January 10th, banning squeegeeing in 6 high-traffic intersections throughout the city. They're enforced by police with a 3-tiered system. First, a warning. Second, another warning and referral to service. And the third instance will result in a citation. Bill King thinks the plan's been working.
Seems like it is. we saw an almost immediate change after it came into effect.
But police tell us in total, 27 warnings have been given since January 10th in those zones, but not a single citation has been written.
I think the real test is going to be when the summer comes. You know, kids are out of school, the weather's nice. You know, do we see sort of a little uptick at that point?
Ooh, have a good one.
For now, CJ is staying put at an intersection he knows he's safe to squeegee.
I know I'm good right here. I know I'm good squeezing, and I know other kids not good because like how they react.
And hoping those who can't seem to show drivers respect don't ruin it for him.
It's new kids coming in, they messing up for us, for the ones that already been doing this for years.
In Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Have a good one.
If you have a run-in with a squeegee kid, we'd like to hear about it. Send an email to news@foxbaltimore.com. Let us know where and when and what happened, and we'll look into it. Changes coming to Columbia Mall starting tomorrow. On Fridays and Saturdays after 4, anybody under 18 has to be accompanied by somebody 21 or older anywhere at the mall, including the parking lot. Now, this comes in response to issues involving teenagers in the mall, including 3 arrests for unruly behavior in January. Howard County Executive Calvin Ball says the situation has improved since they made the announcement.
As we have looked over the last several weeks, there haven't been criminal incidences at that scale at the mall. We want to make sure that not only throughout Howard County and the mall, people are safe, but they feel safe.
This policy follows similar ones already in place at Towson Town Center, but the policy applies to anybody under 17 at the Towson Mall. With less than 2 weeks until the end of the session, lawmakers are poised to pass plans curtailing where legal gun owners can bring their weapons. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost explains how this legislation has been a lightning rod for debate the entire session. But now it's being changed and losing some support.
Where you can bring a gun in public is at the center of the debate for Senate Bill 1.
I was really proud to be a Marylander this week.
From the second week of session, Democrats were clear about the intent of the language.
So we're going to push to the constitutional limit to ensure that Marylanders are safe.
Chairman of the Senate Judicial Committee, Senator Will Smith, says the goal is to limit where legal gun owners can bring their weapons in public.
What we're looking to do is to push not only the public spaces or sensitive locations definition to its farthest constitutional limit, and also to look into what mechanisms we can put in place to ensure that folks that are seeking these wear carry permits are going to get the proper training, the proper renewals, and the proper screenings.
The bill says anyone with a legal wear or carry permit cannot bring their weapon to a long list of places like schools, healthcare facilities, stadiums, performance venues, and others. After amendments to the bill, that list is smaller, and the parameters don't apply to law enforcement, on-duty armed forces members, and others. It also does not apply to private property with authorized armed security guards. Beyond the goal of stretching the constitutional limits, Senate President Bill Ferguson says the bill drills down to a fundamental question.
What type of society do we want to live in? Do we want to live in one where we think that violence is solved by more guns, or do we want to live in a society where we believe that people should have the opportunity to maximize their potential and not need a gun to feel safe?
But critics disagree.
I'd say I have arrested probably 200 to 300 people for weapons charges. And out of those 200 to 300 weapons people that had charges for weapons, I honestly can only remember 2 who actually had valid gun licenses. 2.
Melissa Pinkleton, a law enforcement analyst and retired police officer, says targeting legal guns won't make communities safer.
The people who are committing these crimes, these murders, aggravated assaults, robberies, they are not purchasing their guns legally anyway.
Republicans oppose the plan.
I think the bill's terrible, and I think it will be struck down in court.
Senate Minority Whip Justin Reedy argues lawmakers should have spent their 90 days in session tackling legislation to curb violent crime.
We have this huge issue with violent crime and repeat violent offenders using illegal firearms, but the General Assembly's priority so far has been to just crack down on people who they cannot show really one significant instance of a permit holder committing a crime.
And this time, some Democrats agree.
I think that this is one of the few times that I'm moving in the same posture as my colleague, Justin Reedy. I think that it had constitutional issues. I think that we need to focus on the folks that are carrying illegal handguns.
While the support for the plan is likely there to pass, lawmakers have not addressed the illegal guns plaguing communities like Baltimore City, where more than 300 people have been killed for 8 straight years. The last day of session is April 10th, and a piece of legislation like the Violent Firearms Offender Act that seeks to implement tougher penalties for people who use guns in their crimes, it failed to gain traction again this year during session. In the newsroom, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
And Fox 45 News is helping you make your voice heard. Scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you to our website where we put together a list of email addresses and phone numbers for your state senators and delegates, including Senate President Ferguson and House Speaker Jones. Ahead on Fox 45 News at 6, new renderings of a new concourse at Penn Station, when the construction could begin.
And it looks like temperature is going to be settling through the 50s, back into the 40s by about 9 o'clock under mainly clear skies. I'm going to let you know how long we hold on to the dry weather when it's warmer and wetter. That's all of my Weather Authority forecast.
A dramatic spike in the number of Chinese nationals showing up at America's southern border. I'm Scott Thuman in Washington. Coming up, we'll take you to a remote section of that journey to show you why the surge is so surprising.
If you are just joining us tonight, former President Donald Trump has been indicted in New York. His lawyer telling the Associated Press that vote had been made by a grand jury in New York City. It all surrounds the hush money payments made during the 2016 campaign to silence a rumored affair. We will have reaction and analysis tonight on Fox 45 News at 10. Well, we see a lot of stories about immigrants trying to enter the United States at the southern border, but tonight we have some eye-opening new statistics. Scott Thuman recently went to one of the most difficult crossings to see the situation firsthand and shows us what's happening.
Long before millions of immigrants even get close to the U.S. southern border each year, many of them first have to traverse a highly dangerous section of land called the Darien Gap. Unlike any other part of their path, it is miles of thick, challenging jungle on the route from South to Central America. We recently went to the exit point of that remote crossing in Panama for full measure. Walking through this encampment, this sort of makeshift marketplace, you're absolutely struck by how many voices, how many languages you're hearing.
Mr. Chairman.
But lately, a dramatic change raised last month at a hearing on Capitol Hill.
There was a lot of different types of populations coming through there, coming through the Darien jungle.
Migrants from China, perhaps surprisingly, are now the fourth largest population of border crossers at the Darien Gap, and a significant number now being encountered at the U.S. southern border. So far this fiscal year, over 4,300 Chinese nationals. That's more than double all of last fiscal year, when that number was just over 2,000. Many asylum seekers looking for refuge after leaving China and its oppressive domestic policies and communist life there. Other migrants telling us they're certain they'll be allowed in the U.S.
Yeah, of course.
Why do you say of course?
I just know they are welcoming and they don't need someone that like trouble, and I believe I'm not a troublemaker.
On the next leg of their journey, a bus ride north, we meet an entire family from Afghanistan determined to make that happen. Are you confident that the United States will let you in?
No. We will go illegal and...
You'll go illegally if you have to?
Illegal.
Yeah. The allure of America enough that neither a deadly jungle nor uncertain future will stop this flow. In Panama, I'm Scott Thuman.
Here's our look at today's top trending stories. Number one, Amtrak is sharing new renderings of what a revamped Penn Station could look like in the future. It includes an entirely new concourse for Amtrak that would serve regional and high-speed trains up and down the Northeast Corridor. The idea is to begin construction sometime this fall. Work on a new tunnel to increase train traffic and reduce travel time to D.C. is already in the works. Number two, Baltimore County Police hosting what it is calling a pop-up event to hand out steering wheel locks to Hyundai owners. It is all related to that nationwide spike in car thefts fueled by social media challenges. The event begins at 9 in the morning at the Dundalk precinct and will last until they run out of locks. Number three, baseball officially back, and the Orioles opened up the day in Boston against the rival Red Sox. It was a nail-biter, even though the O's built a big 10-4 lead. They squeaked by with a 10-9 win after giving up 5 runs late. The O's have tomorrow off to rest up. 161 games left. The Birds come home a week from today to take on the Yankees in the 2023 home opener.
Fox Triplecast this evening. Looking nice. Mile 1 Taos Cam, Toyota East Harbor Sky Cam, blue skies, but on the HD radar, the next weather maker lurking over the Midwest, and it will be getting here by later tomorrow and tomorrow night, especially into Saturday. Right now, clear skies, and the Toyota East Harbor Sky Cam welcoming Chamber of Commerce weather. 53 winds out of the west-northwest at 11, bone dry humidity and dew point. So barely even a cloud in the sky across the entire East Coast, including here in Maryland. Temperatures now mid to upper 40s and low to mid 50s. Temperatures all running about 5 to 10 degrees cooler than they were just 24 hours ago. But the warmth isn't too far behind. Down toward Charleston, Roanoke, Richmond, about 60 to 65. We're going to get up there for tomorrow. And HD radar showing that next weather maker. There it is from Minneapolis to Chicago. Shower storms, even some snow kind of butted up against that into portions of Wisconsin, and then a batch of thunderstorms in eastern Oklahoma, and then there's rain and snow across the Intermountain West. So this is what's moving toward us. Sunshine, cool for the remainder of today into tonight. It stays with mainly clear skies, although clouds increase late night as this mess begins heading our way. Warmer weather, but also it looks like by tomorrow afternoon we're going to have some scattered rain and maybe even potentially into early Saturday a thunderstorm or two as a cold front crosses. And it's going to be a lot cooler after a windy, warm day on Saturday as we head into Sunday. So overnight tonight, early tomorrow morning, the clouds gradually increase. I think through about noontime tomorrow, it should be rain-free. But tomorrow afternoon, after about 3, 4 o'clock, there are some showers moving in. And those last overnight into early Saturday and probably Saturday morning. The balance there going to be at least somewhat wet. Temperatures rising through the 60s back into the 70s on Saturday. I'm going to let you know how many 70s we have in our exclusive 10-day forecast in a couple of minutes.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Caught on camera, a Utah Highway Patrol dash cam caught this avalanche earlier this week. The road was closed at the time for safety reasons. Freezing fog and low clouds make for an interesting scene in Reno, Nevada. And what a catch! A photographer's perfect timing shows an alligator at South Carolina's Huntington Beach State Park with its breakfast flounder.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
And I've been in the railroad industry for over 30 years. Right now, the nature of the industry is as bad as I've seen it.
Freight derailments making headlines from coast to coast since the Ohio toxic train crash. Tonight, a look at efforts to revamp railroad safety. The toxic train derailment in Ohio and the close call with wastewater almost coming here to Baltimore has placed a spotlight on rail safety and just what's running through communities across America. Michelle Esteban from our Sinclair sister station in Seattle has a closer look at the safety regulations some members of Congress are pushing for.
From the fireball in East Palestine, Ohio, to this BNSF derailment 2 weeks ago in Skagit County.
And this easily could have been a different scenario given the materials that are transported.
An estimated 3,100 gallons of diesel fuel spilled on the Swinomish Reservation.
I mean, I've been in the railroad industry for over 30 years. Right now, the nature of the industry is as bad as I've seen it.
John Hyde investigated the derailment that killed 3 in 2017 in DuPont and countless other railroad incidents nationwide.
So easily preventable with one thing, eyes on it. Put more people, don't make the train so darn long.
The East Palestine derailment, 150 cars, a quarter of them derailed.
This hearing is not only, though, about East Palestine derailment. Less than a week ago, a Burlington Northern Santa Fe train derailed in my state.
During this congressional hearing led by Washington Senator Maria Cantwell, she demanded rail industry leaders do more and called on fellow lawmakers to pass the Railway Safety Act of 2023. In part, it calls for train length requirements, an audit inspection, detectors every 10 miles for the major railroads, increased safety penalties, and requires advance notification of hazardous material shipments to state personnel.